I'm up here. I just seen about 3 or 4 backpackers that look like they're going to go to the top. You can hear other people talking in the background, and they just look like they're just coming down from a day hike. They're not, weekend hikers. But the guys that just went up, they look like weekend hikers. Like they're going up today and they're gonna go pretty much probably to the top, which is something that me and Ray and Otha and Bruce did back when we were in our 20s. Yeah, we hiked all the way up to the top of San Bernardino, the mountain. It was a very interesting hike. I remember we started out and pretty much in the afternoon, because we didn't have far to go. We had the first camp was, I think, 2 miles up, and we were going to stop there. And so we got up there, and boy was that a night. We broke, we made up camp and had a fire. And well, actually, yeah, we had a fire, and we started making dinner. Well, Bruce, he had brought some chicken to fry. And Bruce, we all had like camping stuff, easy stuff. And Bruce had some canned heat and this aluminum skillet. And he kept saying, "I'm gonna have me some fried chicken. I'm gonna have me some fried chicken." And Bruce, he got it going. He got that fried chicken going, and it was frying. It was cooking. But he hadn't set it up correctly. He had he had it on a slant. And me and Ray and Otha were looking, and we knew the thing was gonna tip over. And so we were just watching, and we could see the thing steadily moving more and more. And finally that thing tipped over. And that chicken went all on the ground and had dirt all on it. And Bruce just, and he was mad as hell. But he said, "I'm gonna still have you some fried chicken." So he got that fried chicken and he dusted it off, and he set it back up again, and he set it up in the same place. And we just knew, it's gonna tip over again. And sure enough, it did. And Bruce, I don't know if Bruce actually got that chicken fry up or if he just said, "Forget it. I ain't even gonna worry about it more," and ate something. So we, nobody was really paying attention to the clock. And so everybody kind of like turned in. And we didn't realize it was only something like 7:30. And so we was sleeping. And then we woke back up. And so we looked around, and all of a sudden, I think it was Ray, woke up and he said, "I'm ready to whoop every last one of y'all for making me go to sleep at 6, 7 o'clock." We start busting up laughing. Well, Ray got up. I mean, not Ray, Otha got up, and Otha was doing something. He was trying to break some more sticks, I think, for the fire. And he hit one trying to break it, and it broke, but it flew up and hit him in his lower lip. And it poked a hole in his lower lip. So we were looking at it, and it wasn't bleeding that bad. And we thought, are we gonna go back or are we gonna continue on? And Otha was like, no man, come on, let's go. We're gonna go to the top. So we said, okay. So we was sitting there talking. And the next thing we knew is that this Jerusalem cricket came walking up by the fire. And we had never seen a Jerusalem cricket. But I had heard the name, and for some reason I looked at that thing, I said, man, I think that's a Jerusalem cricket. You know, and it was a big old thing, like about that. And Ray Green, he was determined to put that cricket in the fire. He said, oh no, I'm not going to sleep with something like that crawling around. And so he took a stick, and it took him about 5 minutes. You know, cricket was jumping and he was poking at it. He finally got that Jerusalem cricket in the fire. And we were finally able to go to sleep for the night. So next day we got up and we started continuing to hike up to the next camp, which I think was called High Creek, because it was either halfway or High Creek, but I think it was High Creek because there was a creek at the campsite. So, you know, we figured out, okay, yeah, we're gonna stay there. But we decided, well, we're gonna go on up to the top to San G, and then we'll come back and camp there. So as we hiked all the way up to the top. Now when we got to the top of the mountain, there was nothing, there was rocks, but most of them were covered up by a glacier. And so we, you know, as we were going up, you know, Bruce was just moving. And Otha was getting upset because he was getting tired and he wanted to stop and rest. Well, you know, he kept yelling at Bruce, slow down, you mountain goat. You know, I'm getting tired. And Bruce was just going. So when we got up to the top of San G, we found a place and we settled down. We said, okay, we're gonna take a rest here. And we kind of all jumped down and settled down. And I don't know what Otha was doing, but he was fixing up his backpack and adjusting things and doing all that. And most of us kind of knocked out. Me, Ray, and Bruce, we knocked out. Well, right when Otha adjusted his pack and laid back against it and knocked out, he got about 10 minutes and Bruce jumped up, all right, let's go. And Otha body hit the ceiling. He said, man, sit down. You know, we're gonna take a nap. And Bruce was like, no, we gotta go. We gotta get back to the camp. You know, because we had probably gone up a couple of miles. And so, you know, Otha was mad. We got up and we started looking for the trail to go back down. Well, we started going across the glacier, and we noticed that the glacier had a bunch of holes, and they were deep holes. These were holes that were like 10 to 15 feet deep. They would, you know, some of them were angled down, other ones were straight down, and there was rocks at the bottom. So, you know, we had to go around them, you know, and we were pretty much working our way around them, and we were in a line. And I think it was somebody said, hey, where'd Ray Green go? And we were like, where'd Ray Green go? And we start, Ray. And we looked up, and Ray had fell down one of these 12 to 14 foot holes. You know, just walking, not paying attention where he was going, looking around, seeing everything, and just walked right into one. And we walked up on the hole, you know, and it's got slick, like snow glacier size. And so we looking at her like, Ray, what happened? He said, I don't know. I was walking along and next thing I know, I was at the bottom of this hole. So we were like, well, wait a minute, we ain't got no rope. You know, we was trying to figure out how we gonna get this fool out of there. And I think we lowered something like a backpack or something down, and he grabbed hold and we pulled him, you know, sliding up the side of the thing, and, you know, got his stuff, put it back on, and, you know, we found the trail, started making our way back down to the High Creek camp, where we spent the night, and, you know, everything was okay. And, you know, we eventually on Sunday made our way back down and came out, you know, and it was a very interesting weekend. But to spend that weekend with those guys is something I'll never forget. I mean, it was just four of us. Tim didn't go because he got conned by some woman, you know, not to go and stay home, and she didn't do nothing. Matter of fact, I think she left him for the weekend, you know, while she went off and did something else. And we just shook our head and said, okay, Tim, you know, you sitting up here putting these women first, you're gonna miss out in life. So I like to come up here every once in a while. I'm hoping my leg gets better so that I might be able to just go part of the way up. You know, I've been up there twice. When I was younger and in high school, some guys from church took us up there, and we went the long way around. I think there's a way you can go around. It's something close to 18 miles. And it goes up and you come out, I think, further down the hill, and then we walk back up. Instead of the time I went with my buddies, we just went up and came back down the same way. But yeah, I started out at an early age of being an outdoorsman, you know, somebody who wasn't afraid of the wilderness. We didn't see anything like bears or, you know, larger cats during that whole trip. You know, we saw a bunch of squirrels and stuff. But still, it was enough to where, yeah, I like coming up here every once in a while and looking around and roaming around as best I can. There is a waterfall down here. That's why it's called Forest Falls. And it's year round. And I may try to one day to see if I can get back up there and take some pictures. But I remember the last time I went with the Pathfinders, and they had a great time. So that's it. Just wanted to leave that little story of a weekend, or a couple of weekends in my life, where if you ever look up and see the top of San Bernardino Mountain, you can say great granddaddy or uncle or cousin David went to the top of that thing and came back down and lived to tell about it. So for now, that's it. And I'll be going around making some more adventures of the life of cousin, uncle, and hopefully great grandpa, Uncle David. Until then, later.